Hey guys, what's up? This is Dark Claw here. Um, well, it's been a while since I've done a video on this channel, let alone my main channel, but I'm back and gonna be coming out with some more collection videos since I haven't done one of those in a while. So this time I decided to show my PS1 collection. I've got quite a bunch of games for the system, a little over 60. Um, I find PS1 games to be pretty easy to collect for, bearing RPGs, which a vast majority of them are rather expensive. But I love the system. There's a lot of great games for it, and I'd say my collection is getting pretty good. Initially, when I first had my PS1 collection, it was kind of shit. Like, didn't have that many great games, let alone heavy hitters. But I think my collection has been getting better, and it's just growing a lot lately. Anyways, so here is my collection. Let's get to it. Alright, so right here is my selection of games. There's a lot to cover, so let's get to it. First game I have is Destruction Derby, which is the only game I have in a long box. This might have been fun back when it first came out, but not really a big fan of it. I just find it to be kind of clunky, and while I do like the Demolition Derby concept, it's just kind of frustrating to work with, honestly. Not a huge fan. Next game I have is Siphon Filter, the original. You're probably wondering what's up with the price sticker. I just haven't taken it off yet. This is actually my second copy. My old copy was very scratched to hell and back. It was busted up, so I replaced it with this new copy, and got it for a pretty good price. So I'm happy about that. But it's a pretty solid game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It's hard, very hard, kind of clunky, honestly, but a decent game. I enjoyed it. Final Fantasy IX. I really enjoyed this game. I haven't gotten that far in it, but from what I have played of it, though, I really like it. I do plan on finishing this one soon. Currently, I am doing a Final Fantasy marathon, which I am trying to go through the mainline Final Fantasy series in chronological order, or at least one by one, from like the first one all the way up to 15. Well, I've actually finished 15 already, and I finished 10, so I don't really need to go through those to fill my quota. But I've already gone through the first two games, and I'm currently on Final Fantasy 3 right now, which I'm playing on the PSP. But I will get to playing through the entirety of 9 once I'm done with the previous entries, because for a while I just never brought myself to finish a Final Fantasy game, so I decided to do this marathon to start working on that and get more acquainted with the series, because I really do enjoy the series. I've always enjoyed it, but I really want to invest more time into the series, and I've been trying to do that lately, so yeah. Next I have Soviet Strike, another game I just recently purchased. This is the fourth entry, I think, into the Strike series that Electronic Arts put out, or what they're known now as EA. And generally, I don't care for a lot of EA's new stuff, but their old stuff, though, was great. I absolutely loved a lot of their older games, especially Road Rash, which It's one of my favorite racing games, or at least one of my favorite older racing games at the time. It's good stuff. But yeah, what to think of Soviet Strike? I actually used to have the Saturn version years ago. Well, it was my dad's, but still, I remember playing that years ago on the Saturn. Um, but I couldn't find the Saturn port at my retro game store, so I got the PlayStation port instead. And I recently gave this one a try. It's a pretty decent game. It is basically it takes a lot of cues from the older games, just now with 3D graphics, and it looks fairly decent. Not great, but not terrible. Control's a little weird, but you get used to it pretty quickly. My biggest issue with this game is that it's not really clear on what you gotta do with the missions. Like, it feels a little, abstract. Well, maybe not abstract, but it's really easy to fuck things up in this game. Like, you could end up killing too many civilians in such a short span of time, or you could end up missing something that you were supposed to do before, and that can get pretty frustrating. But it's a decent game. I enjoyed it. Next, I have Fighting Force. Yeah, I don't have a complete copy of this. The thing is, I did see a complete copy of it when I went to my retro gaming store, but I saw a cheaper copy that was loose for 10, which the complete copy was 25. And generally, I don't like to collect my PS1 games loose, but I could not pass up the opportunity to grab this game for $10, because it is getting a little up there for a complete copy. But yeah, Fighting Force is a really fun game. Movement is a little on the sluggish side. Like, when you're moving around, it feels a little clunky, and it is repetitive, but it's a beat 'em up, so I kind of expected that. But it's pretty fun. It kind of reminds me of Streets of Rage, if Streets of Rage were in 3D instead of 2D. I think this game was inspired by it, if I'm not mistaken. But it's a pretty fun game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I also do like that you can be able to. I also do like that you can destroy various environments and stuff. It's pretty cool. Yeah, that's really all I gotta say. Ace Combat 2. Not my most favorite game in the series, but a pretty damn fun game. Really enjoyed this one. I actually only recently checked this out. I was not expecting it to be simple to play, but it actually is. It's not a relatively difficult game to play. I basically used what I learned in Ace Combat 4, which is one of my favorite entries. But this one really wasn't difficult to get into. It was more simplified, so it wasn't as complex as it was in the later games, but I still had fun with it. I actually really enjoyed this one. It's a pretty good fight. It's a pretty fun flight game. Definitely worth a purchase. It's also one of the more expensive Ace Combat games to get. I got this for 25, so yeah, but this is a pretty damn good game. I like it a lot. Jimmy White's 2 Cue Ball. This is a pretty bland billiards game. Not really all that fun. The only reason I even have this game is because it contains Drop Zone, which is very playable, and it's a decent version, although the audio is a tad muffled, but still, it has Drop Zone, so can't really go wrong with that. Tomb Raider 3. This one I actually liked quite a bit compared to the first game. But Tomb Raider 3 is a pretty damn good game. One of the best ones in the PlayStation 1 saga, if you ask me. Ridge Racer. You know, for the time, this definitely was a great game. I could see why people liked it. But later games have come out, and yeah, this one's definitely limited. It's been put to shame by the later releases, by the later games. But it's not a bad game though. It's fun for a bit. It's just very short. You could probably beat this in like an hour, and there's really not a whole lot to come back to. But not a bad game though. Final Fantasy VIII. Really enjoyed this one too. Can't really say if I like this one or 9 better. I probably like 9 a little bit more, but I can't quite say for sure. I haven't really beaten these yet. I got further in 8 than I did 9 though, but I definitely plan to give a better plan to get a better grip on these games for my marathon. So, yeah. Medal of Honor. This is a pretty fun first-person shooter. I enjoyed it. Stuart Little 2. You know, it may seem like a pretty crappy movie tie-in, but it's actually not that bad. It's a platformer, kind of like Mario 64. It is a bit on the easy side, but it's meant for a younger audience. But even so, I actually enjoyed this one. It's a fairly decent game. Jet Moto, the original. I don't have Jet Moto 2, unfortunately, but I got this and I got Jet Moto 3. But the first Jet Moto, it's pretty decent. It's fucking hard though. Like, this game is very difficult to control. Like, sometimes you're not going to be turning correctly, and the jet bikes feel a bit heavy. But it's still a decent game, though. I enjoyed it. This is just a PlayStation Underground disc. It doesn't have that many demos. It contains Shadow Tower and some prototype called Project Wormhole, but that's really the only demos it has, which is kind of a shame. Castlevania Symphony of the Night. I love this game. One of my favorite games on the PS1. This is a damn fun Metroidvania style game. Takes what made the original game so great and adds an element of exploration and RPG elements to it. You can't go wrong. It's just a fantastic 2D game, especially for PS1. Omega Boost. This was a pretty decent game. It's actually developed by the same guys that did the Gran Turismo series, Polyphony Digital. It also looks really good for a PS1 game. It's a rail shooter, kind of like Sin and Punishment, Star Fox. It's good stuff. Gex, fun little platformer. Not much else to say. Biofreaks. You know, a lot of people don't really seem to like this game, but I actually liked it. I thought it was a pretty enjoyable fighting game. It is definitely a bit on the clunky side, but it's not too bad. I could get used to the fighting here. I do like that you're able to I do like the 3D arena-like environments while still being able to play like a traditional fighting game. I also like that your characters have their own different weapons they can use to destroy each other. That's always fun. It's good stuff. It is a little clunky, but I thought it was a pretty fun game, though. It's got a very interesting concept. Jet Moto 3. I actually haven't played this in a while, but I do remember really enjoying this one. Should probably replay it. Die Hard Trilogy. I love the movies. I think they're a lot of fun to watch. And this one contains the first 3 Die Hard movies. um, packaged into various genres of gaming. The first one being an action third-person shooter game, Die Hard 2 being a light gun game, a la Time Crisis, and Die Hard with a Vengeance is more like a driving game. Die Hard 1 and 2 are great, but Die Hard with a Vengeance is not very fun. The car is incredibly hard to control. It's like, it often keeps constantly slipping all over the damn place. And trying to find the bombs that you're supposed to disable can get very frustrating because you'll get lost easy. But Die Hard 1 and 2, pretty good stuff. Namco Museum Volume 3. Not really the best selection of games. Contains Pole Position, 2, Bozon, Tower of Druaga, Galaxium as Pac-Man and Dig Dug. Not a bad compilation, but definitely not the greatest. Metal Gear Solid. Love this game. One of my favorites on the PS1. I can actually quote the entire most of the entire opening sequence that appears before the gameplay starts. I don't know. It's just, I played the demo so much that I could memorize that. I could memorize some of those scenes word for word. So, yeah, pretty good stuff. I've beaten this a couple of times. It's just a great stealth game. So much fun to play. Twisted Metal 4. A lot of people didn't really like this one, but I actually thought it was pretty fun. Gran Turismo, the first game. I do appreciate the groundwork it laid for the series, but it's not really all that worth going back to, honestly. It's not terrible, it's pretty dated compared to the later games. Tekken 2. Didn't like it quite as much as Tekken 3, but I still enjoyed it. It's definitely way better than the first Tekken, I'll say that much. There's a lot more characters to choose from. The graphics are better. The cutscenes are better. Just pretty much everything was improved from the first game and was better suited here. But Tekken 3 pretty much perfected everything, and I'll show that later in the video. But yeah, great fighting game. Very fun. Battle Tanks Global Assaults. I played this quite a bit when I was a kid, and then I rebought it, but it's not as fun as I remember. Controls feel kind of sluggish, and collision detection is kind of wonky. Not a bad game, but definitely not great. WWF SmackDown. It's a pretty fun wrestling game. Interactive CD Sampler Disc Volume 9. This one contains a lot of demos. Tomb Raider 3, Bugs Life, Medieval, Gran Turismo, Wild 9, stuff like that. Good stuff. Mortal Kombat 4. A lot of people don't really seem to like this one either, but I actually had fun with it. I thought it was a pretty good fighting game. I actually did a review on the Game Boy Color version of this years ago, not years ago, just about a year ago, back on my main channel, and that was pretty bad. The Game Boy Color port's terrible, but the Big Boy console version, though, actually pretty fun. I enjoyed it quite a bit. Hated the weapon system, though, because you had to input a complicated button combination, and it's practically useless anyway, because if you get hit once while you're holding a weapon in your hand, it flies out, and yeah, pretty stupid, but I enjoyed the game. I thought the gameplay was alright. Definitely a little clunky for a first attempt at a 3D game in the series, but still fun. Still enjoyed it. There's a lot I like about the game, so yeah. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I know this sounds weird, but it is true. This game did come out on PS3, PS1, and it's pretty fun. I actually liked it quite a lot. It plays a lot like Pro Skater 2, but with some of the added bells and whistles of Pro Skater 3. And also, a lot of the level designs in this game are very different from the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube versions, which isn't a bad thing. It actually does work around the limitations, so that's pretty cool. MDK, very fun third-person shooter developed by Shiny Entertainment. Really good game. Enjoyed it quite a lot. It's very fast-paced and frantic and pretty hectic, but damn, it's so good. Tekken 3. This is my favorite entry in the series by far. I love this game. Played this one to death when I was younger, and I still play it to this day. It's just a great fighting game with so much stuff to keep you occupied. It's good stuff. Siphon Filter 2. A little bit better than the first one, although it definitely still has the tank controls. The King of Fighters 99. Another game that a lot of people don't really seem to like, but I do. I actually thought this game was really fun. The PS1 version is fairly compromised, I will admit that, but I still enjoyed this game. I thought it was a lot of fun to play. Scooby-Doo and the Cyber Chase. It's basically just Crash Bandicoot, but you're playing as Scooby-Doo and it's not as responsive. Not terrible, but a pretty average game. This one isn't GT1. This one is 2, actually, because I don't have the case for GT1. But I actually like GT2 a lot better than the first game. The second one introduced a lot of... The second one improved upon the formula quite a lot, and it's just great because of it. Frogger. It was alright, nothing too crazy. Chrono Cross. I've played this a couple of times, and I couldn't really get by the battle system. I just found it to be really frustrating and confusing to work with, but it's been a while since I've played this last, so maybe I'll have better luck with it next time. Crash Team Racing. A bona fide classic. This is such a good racing game. Army Man World War Team Assault. This is the only Army Man game I have on the PS1, and it's not great. But I have it because I love the Army Man games. So, yeah. It's not total shit, but it's not great either. Controls feel kind of stiff and awkward at times. It's a little on the slow side. And also there's really not a whole lot to keep you going, so yeah, it seems like this one was just a very half-assed, rushed game, especially with how late this game was released. It was released in late 2001 on the system, a year after the PS2 was already available for purchase. Road Rash. This was a lot of fun. Still one of the best versions of Road Rash, in my opinion. I love this game. It is such a great motorcycle racing game where you just knock people off their bikes and shit. It's so much fun. And with a great soundtrack, too. I mean, come on. You've got Soundgarden, Monster Magnet, Therapy, Hammerbox. How can you go wrong with that? If you like grunge, it's totally for you. Activision Classics for the Atari 2600. This one's a pretty decent collection of games, although menu navigation can be very clunky because the load times get a bit intrusive because you're switching between games, and it has to load a lot whenever you switch, and it's a little annoying. Not bad, though. WWF SmackDown 2, Know Your Role. A little bit better than the first one. Just a really solid wrestling game all around. Lunar Silver Star Story Complete. I love this game. One of my favorites on the PS1 by far. I love the story. I love the characters. I love the music. I love so many things about it. It's just a really good game, in my opinion. Contender. That's a pretty bad boxing game. Not very fun. It's incredibly boring. Star Wars Episode 1, Jedi Power Battles. This is actually a Star Wars hack and slash game. It's actually not too bad. Not great, but not bad. Arc the Lad. And Arc the Lad 2. I don't really have much to say about these games because I haven't played them that much. Hot Wheels Turbo Racing. This one was really fun. A great racing game where you can play as all these great Hot Wheels cars and do stunts and tricks and shit. It's also got Metallica and Primus in here, so that's pretty sweet. Arc the Lad 3. Haven't played much of this either. C12 Final Resistance. I actually like this game a fair bit. This is developed by the same guys that did the first Medieval. Pretty cool stuff. It's not a bad game. It's also a very late release in the PS1's life cycle. It was released in 2002, so yeah, that's pretty late. But it's a pretty good game. I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 and the first Pro Skater. Pro Skater 2 is better, but the first one's still pretty decent. Though it's definitely not aged as well as it could have. I do have the remakes on PS4 as well now, and I absolutely love it. It's the best Tony Hawk to come out in years, so yeah. Rayman, first one. It's a pretty fun 2D platformer, but holy shit, it gets really difficult later on, and it's Cool Borders 2. Haven't really played much of this. Capcom vs. SNK Pro. I actually did a review of this on my main channel, and I still enjoy this game. I think it's a really fun port. It's not as good as the Dreamcast version, obviously, and there's a lot of compromises and cutbacks I had to make, but I still think this is a pretty fun game, even on PS1, so yeah. Driver 2. Pretty fun game. I actually like this one quite a bit. It's basically GTA before GTA went in 3D. 007 The World Is Not Enough. Graphically, I do think the game looks better, but the N64 version is better in many ways otherwise. Interactive CD Sampler Disc Volume 5, which contains games like Armored Core, Crash Bandicoot 2, and that really shitty Star Wars fighting game, Masters of Terras Kasai. That was so bad. But not a bad selection of games, though, otherwise. Midway Arcade's Greatest Hits, Atari Collection 2. This one contains Crystal Castles, Gauntlet, Marble Madness, stuff like that. Not too bad. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories. I actually like this game quite a bit. It is the Yu-Gi-Oh! Card game pretty much with a story, but the story is not really that important. I played it for the card game, and I used to play the card game a lot, but everything got really overcomplicated, and I just stopped playing after that, but I love the older card game, so yeah. But pretty fun game. Breath of Fire 4. This is going for a lot now, especially complete in box. Really good game. Definitely worth checking out. Although I'd suggest emulating it if you don't want to blow a huge hole in your wallet. This one does not have the original Metal Gear Solid. It actually has Silent Hill and Need for Speed High Stakes, which I only put them in there because I didn't have anywhere else to put them. Silent Hill is pretty good. It's scary as hell. Need for Speed High Stakes, haven't really played. Breath of Fire 3, great game. I got halfway through it, but I haven't really finished it yet. There's so much in my backlog, oh my god. The last one I have is PlayStation Underground Volume 2, which contains a bunch of demos like NFL Blitz, Tomb Raider 3, and whatnot. It's good stuff. And that is my PS1 collection. Quite a bunch of games to choose from. I would say around like 65, 66 games. And I'm still collecting for it. Hopefully I'll find some even greater games. Maybe if I get lucky, find some more RPGs. But anyways, yeah, that is my PS1 collection. Great little system, love it to death. Not as much as the PS2, but still a very good system and a lot of fun to collect for. Anyways, that is all I'm going to say now for this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.